I think this is the smartest and healthiest decision he could have possibly made. Coach Greg and Flex Lewis calls it a career. He says it's time. He's been competing since he was 19 years of age, hasn't set foot on stage since 2018. 4 years have gone by. He's been through a number of injuries, has another kid on the way, and so it's time.
I just want to be there for the birth, and I just don't want to be, having to look at the clock and eat meals and run off to the gym.
And so this was his decision and his decision alone. Had nothing to do with sponsors or being forced to do so or his health. He simply said, enough is enough. When you're a bodybuilder at this level, there are tremendous sacrifices that you have to make. And yeah, you can have balance. But when you're hard in prep, trying to win a title, and you're traveling, you're on the road, and you have to eat a certain amount of meals and train, and you have low amounts of energy, you're hungry, starving, it can play a toll on not only you, but those around you, in particular, your family. Not to mention, when you get older, you have a family, your priorities change. It's not just your life you're living, it's the life of those around you. And if you haven't been paying attention, there have been a lot of deaths in bodybuilding, especially as of late. And to compete at the highest level, there is no question you have to abuse PEDs. And Flex Lewis is the 7-time 212 Mr. Olympia champion. We would all love to see him go back to the stage and perhaps defend his title in 212. But more importantly, he wanted to test his results in open. When you're an athlete, you simply want to get better, to do better, to get better results. And he had won the title in the 212 so often, he wanted to move and test the waters into the open class. Unfortunately, he'd been injured and had to pull out of previous competitions. And as you know, bodybuilding is not easy, and to move from 212 to the open class, which many people want to see Derek Lunsford do, you have to get bigger, obviously. And to put on a ton more muscle, guess what you most likely need to do? That's right, you need to use more PEDs. And with greater doses of PEDs comes greater risks. And so it's my personal opinion and that of my own, I never wanted to see Flex Lewis compete. Last I spoke to him, he was not sure whether or not he was going to compete. He felt he had one more competition in the tank. That was several months ago. However, and he was aware of this, it is not healthy to take what you need to take to put on the necessary size to compete against the largest, most freakiest bodybuilders on the planet. And although I would love to have seen Flex Lewis grace the stage just one more time and see how he would have done against the biggest, most largest, freakiest bodybuilders in the world, I think this is the smartest and healthiest decision he could have possibly made. He's already a legend. He has nothing to prove. And if he were to compete one more time, perhaps that one extra time, that would have been the time where he could have had a negative consequence from what he had done in the past. When you're a competitive bodybuilder, especially at the top, you are playing Russian roulette with your health. And so perhaps it's smarter for him to say, enough is enough. What more do I have to prove? Is it worth risking my health in order to get up on stage one more time?
If you knew what I've had to do to stay in the game this long, for me to make this decision again, 6 months, it haunted me.
And so this was no easy decision. Those of you thinking that Flex doesn't have the mind of a champion, he absolutely wanted to step on stage in the open class and fight for the open class Mr. Olympia title. The difficulty of sitting back in the audience and watching these athletes battle out on stage and wanting to be there, I 100% understand exactly how he must be feeling. It is extremely difficult when you are a dedicated bodybuilder to finally sit 1 year out. And obviously, I'm nowhere near Flex Lewis's level, not even close, but I've competed 59 times. And you know that every single time I'm sitting in an audience, whether it's amateur or professional, I'm thinking, I want to be up on the stage. Miss it so bad. It is so difficult to sit back, watch a show, and not be a part of it. Those of you who haven't competed, you don't know what I'm talking about. And those who do, I know you get this. I know you can relate. And so Flex is not taking this decision lightly. Took him months of thinking, contemplating the pros, the cons, thinking about every situation, into finally making a decision of I am not going to compete ever again. And so this is one of the most difficult decisions he and any top athlete ever has to make in their entire lives. To retire from the sport that you were so passionate about, that gave you joy, that you've been doing since you were a teenager. This decision is hard. And so please, everyone understand, Flex Lewis is making this decision because he knows it's his time. And if you've never had the pleasure of meeting Flex, you simply don't know what you're missing. This is one of the nicest, if not the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. I can't imagine one single person on this planet not liking Flex. He's simply that good of a guy character, both on and off the stage. No matter who you are, big, tall, small, fat, thin, tall, short, famous, not famous, Flex makes you feel that you are important to him.
I've had an issue with my appetite my whole career, even as a 212 guy. Whatever was in front of me was kind of suffice.
But you stayed at my house. You were struggling to keep food down then.
And so one major problem Flex has been having, and more as of late, is he has trouble keeping his food down. It's not a matter of trying to eat. That is no problem. It's once he eats the food, it feels like it has to come up again. I once have felt this way. I was trying to bulk up, trying to put on as much muscle as possible, got to over 230 pounds, would wake up in the middle of the night to vomit. We've seen other bodybuilders have the same difficulty. Cedric McMillan was having extreme difficulty keeping the food down. Would often feel he had to throw up, couldn't keep the food down. Not healthy. And so what did I do? I went to the doctor, got medications to help me to keep my food down. Eventually, when I stopped bulking and got down to a healthy body fat percentage, this naturally went back to normal on its own. And so is it in fact the PDs, force feeding, eating too many calories? We don't know. But what we do know, it's not good. It is not healthy. And so is it worth it? Imagine struggling every single day trying to keep the food that you're eating from coming back up. Imagine just how uncomfortable it is. And so you have to think, is it worth it? When you're young, healthy, feel good, making gains, of course feels like it's worth it. But as you get older and you start suffering from some of the negative side effects, you have to come to the realization that can't do this forever. The longer you do it, the worse it can get. And so Flex was doing everything he could do to possibly get back to the stage to compete in the open class and take home the open Mr. Olympia title. But after contemplating the good, the bad, the ugly, said, it's just not worth it anymore.
And I don't care what you say, if you are nauseous every single day, it rubs off on whoever is around you. You cannot divide how you feel.
And so Flex, being a great guy, he doesn't want everyone to know about how he's feeling. He's feeling nauseous. He doesn't want to take that off on other people. He doesn't want that to rub off. He wants to be a great, likable guy that everyone wants to be around. But imagine day after day feeling nauseous, that you want to throw up, you don't feel good. How can you be yourself? And so Flex, he couldn't be himself anymore. He didn't feel good, didn't feel healthy. And so I personally believe this is an amazing decision, that it's a decision he simply had to make. And so like me, he lost some weight, feels fantastic. And so is it worth it? Bulking up, force feeding, taking the PDs to put on all that muscle? Is it worth it if you feel nauseous and or sick and it's affecting your personality? And get this, oftentimes you don't have any negative side effects. All these things that Flex is feeling, perhaps they're caused by the PDs. We don't know. We don't know for sure. Perhaps it's just he was eating too much food. But he lost 25 pounds and feels fantastic. And frankly, I feel this is a blessing in disguise. The body is showing you that it's not reacting well to whatever you're doing. Other people, they don't get these warning signs. Do you know what their warning is? They get a heart attack and they don't wake up. And so just because you feel healthy, you don't notice any outward problems, doesn't mean you're actually healthy. Remember, high blood pressure, it's the silent killer. You don't notice, you don't feel it per se. And so my advice, please go see a doctor. Get all the testing you can do, blood work, echocardiograms, and so on. Get the dye test, do whatever it takes to ensure you are healthy.
You had to start questioning, is it worth what's the value in it, right? Anymore, and if you're feeling this sick, right?
Yeah.
And so Flex was well on his way to putting on all that extra muscle, but his body was getting sick. It felt sick. Literally, he felt nauseous all the time. And so he had to ask himself, is it really worth it? Do I really want to go through with this? And I think personally, this was the best decision he ever could have made. It might not feel that way right now. Trust me, he wishes he could be up on that stage. But later down the road, when he looks back, he's going to reflect and think, that was a smart move. I'm still alive. I'm still healthy. That was the best decision I ever could have made.
You'd wake up and say, like, I really want to do this because in my heart, I want to do it. But then your body's like, it's not
exactly
happening
what it
yet. It's not happening.
And so does that not remind you of Cedric? Cedric desperately wanted to get back up on stage. He wanted to prove the haters wrong. I can get back up. I can win again. His body was having such difficulty swallowing the foods, body rejected, feeling nauseous. And so look what happened to Cedric.
When the cons outweigh the pros significantly, then you really have to assess things.
And so Flex, highly intelligent and smart enough to recognize the signs, he says, when the cons outweigh the pros, it is time to stop. And so I believe he made the right decision. Hopefully you agree. Let me know in the comment sections. Do you wish that Flex had not retired? Should he have done one more show? Was enough enough? Was this in fact his time? And so please, if you want to hear more of the story, go and check out his entire podcast, over an hour long. It's big news straight out of the Lair podcast, episode 1. Follow Flex Lewis on YouTube. He's going to be making multiple videos. Highly encourage you to follow him. Such a great guy. Impossible not to like him. And wishing Flex the best. He is retiring as a legend. Should have no regrets. You did the best you could. You hung in as long as possible. We're happy to see you retire healthy and happy. Ending it here. GregDoucette.com for coaching. Greg Doucette IFB Pro. Please check out the Bloops. Also, harder than last time supplements, including everyone is talking about it. Turkesterone. You know it might work, or maybe it doesn't, or well, maybe not. Work for me. Work for others. What do you think it'll do for you? And until next time, I'm out.